This is Hannibal from thehannibaltv.com, and I'm at the 2019 Cauliflower Alley Reunion with Jonard Solie, who is the son of legendary announcer. A lot of people would rank him number one. It's always Gordon Solie or Jim Ross number two, but he is the son of Gordon Solie. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing great. This is the first time for me at Cauliflower, and I'm having an awesome time. Everybody has been so friendly, and the comments that everybody's been making about my dad is just, I'm on cloud nine right now. That he's still remembered the way he's remembered by everybody at this time.
He's in a lot of different Hall of Fames. Could you name some of the Hall of Fames that he's been inducted into? I was there, I think, for his Florida Wrestling Hall of Fame induction.
Well, he was in for WWE.
Yeah.
Inducted in. The Florida inducted in. The Legends Luncheon. And then the Florida Hall of Fame, the one that Barry Ross does. I donated my plaques. I think we were there last year to the Dan Gable, so we're hoping that maybe he'll get an award. I have to say I suggested maybe making an award, a Gordon Solie Award,
that would be a great one
for community, for commentators of excellence. And I got to say, there's people like Lance Russell. There's a lot of guys out there, and if it wasn't for commentators, wrestling could be a little boring. But the commentators help to really bring it to the people and bring the storyline.
And I've commentated a couple matches myself, and I understand how hard it is to be a commentator because you have to tell the story of the match, call the moves at the same time, and promote whatever events are coming up. Sometimes it's more than one event. What do you think was so special about your father as a commentator?
He never knew anything that was going to go on. He watched it as the fans were seeing it. So he has a little TV out there, and he was watching it, and he was calling it. He got into the ring with John Heath and worked out with him. Let John stretch him and everything, so Dad knew exactly how it felt on the body. He also had a picture of the body, and so he learned all the muscles and everything. So he did his homework, but I remember the one story that Cowboy Luttrell said to him when my dad called up Cowboy, and he said, "How do you want me to call this match?" He says, "Like your job depends on it." And that's what he did.
And he definitely did a phenomenal job of that. I think I'm tied at the top two with him, or maybe top three. Him, Jim Ross, and Jesse the Body, I think, are my three favorites. Of course, Jesse was more of the showman side of it.
Yeah.
But you were telling me earlier that you heard about my new comedy show concept that I'm doing with wrestlers. Do you have any funny stories you could share with us about your father?
Oh, yeah. I remember the day that my dad told me that wrestling was fake. And we're driving along the road, and I was probably about 28 at that time. And he said, I got to tell you something, and you probably don't know it. He said, but wrestling's fake. And I turned to my dad, and I looked at him, I said, fake? I said, I've known that. I said, I had an apartment, and so when Jack or Jerry or Bob Roop were in town, they had a place to stay instead of staying at a hotel. So here I had two baby faces and a heel. So, and then plus also I painted the sportatorium inside one summer. So I knew they only had one changing room and one dressing room, but they had two doors going out to the ring. So I was like, no, Dad, I knew.
And speaking of Bob Roop, did you happen to see this Plan B video that's been leaked in recent months?
No, I haven't.
Okay, well maybe you should check it out. It's a video where basically Bob Roop, Bob Orton Jr., Ronnie Garvin, and the Great Malenko actually exposed the business around 1978. It was never released. It had to do with the territory war in Knoxville with Ron Fuller. But I was going to ask you how a video like that, if it had come out at that time with such credible wrestlers saying that wrestling was all a work and they didn't really hurt each other, how would that have hurt the business?
I don't think it would have hurt it at all, because wrestling has the ability for somebody can cheer for a hero and boo a villain, and it's the only business where really you don't have a helmet on your head. They see you, and no, the storyline would have still gone. My dad would have still told his whole storyline the way it is and leave you in suspense.
Now, Ric Flair is one of my all-time favorites. I'm sure you've come across him from time to time over the years, being the son of Mr. Solie. Any stories about him involving your father?
No, the only time I could tell you the story was when we all went out when Jack was going against Terry Funk to try to get his title back, and a young Flair was at the bar with us. And he was listening to everything everybody was talking about, and he was, educating himself. But as to my dad and him, I know that Rick talked to my dad the night before that he died and everything, but my dad always spoke very highly of Rick.
What was your dad's reaction when Eddie Graham passed away? Because I imagine they were very close.
Yeah, it hurt Dad. Because he really liked Eddie, and that's really, I hate to say, it was when when Championship Wrestling from Florida kind of died, because Eddie was the visionary, and he had everything going for himself. So it hurt my dad a lot.
Now, you've mentioned Jack Brisco a couple of times already here. Some of the younger fans might not even know who he is, but he was a major star all over the world, but particularly in the Florida territory. Could you tell us a little bit about some of the accomplishments he had in that territory and any memories of him from you?
I have to say one of the funniest memories I had of Jack was he was just come back from Miami, and he was driving a little yellow Volkswagen. He came into the body shop and said, "Here, make these deposits," and everything. So I was like, "Jack, how do you fit in that little Volkswagen?" Jack was, he and I were roommates, and when he was in town, it was always a pleasure being around Jack. Always made you laugh. He and my dad were just like really super close friends, because Jack was a true gentleman and very humble, and just like his brother Jerry. And I think for the business, that's something really counts, because even though they got up there in the business, they never let it affect how they were as people. And Jack, he always treated his fans with such respect. Those were his biggest accomplishments. It's the way he treated people. He had a lot of great accomplishments in the ring with all the belts and everything, but just the way he worked with people was, I think, the most special thing.
Did your father have any favorites to work with?
Jack, Harley Race, Don Curtis.
What about as a commentator, as a co-commentator?
Dusty Rhodes. Dusty and my dad played off each other very well on it. My dad was a big fan of Lance Russell's, but and Roddy Piper, he enjoyed working with Roddy. So, I watched my dad when he did it by himself, and he carried the whole show. And just recently I found some tapes of him with a mustache.
Wow.
I had never seen it. So, and we're also working on a documentary on my dad. So I've got a lot of old vintage stuff I'll be bringing out.
That's great, and now that you mentioned that, I'll make a point of bringing up your dad even more in the future to wrestlers I interview. You said you're going to be putting out a book about your dad, that you might even have a page of me in it about my opinion of Gordon Solie as an announcer, which I was a huge fan. He added a lot of credibility to the sport, in my opinion. But do you want to tell us a little bit about the book?
The book is going to be... it's a different book. It's going to be an easy-to-read book. And I'm going to have 4 different sections. And one's going to be on family and their comments. And I'm going to have some really strange photos in there. My dad used to own a fire truck.
Oh, really?
And he had Solie Valley fire truck on it. My stepmother, on my dad's 50th birthday, she got a billboard and put on it, "Happy birthday, Gordon, 50th his 50th birthday, love Smokey." So when he drove to work, that was the first thing he saw on his birthday.
Wow.
Those are the things that I'm going to bring up. My dad had a monkey.
Okay, that's incredible.
Yeah, that he got at the PBS station during the auctions. He ended up buying it. His name was Monty. So every time we'd go out of town, before cell phones, we would call home and ask for Monty. And if he said, "Oh, he's all caged up or he's tied up," you knew that you made it there safely.
Interesting. It's a good thing, I guess, he wasn't commentating the WCW event where Kevin Sullivan accidentally killed a monkey, because he probably would have taken that a little seriously. And I know you have Facebook, but do you want to let the fans know where they can look you up if they want to not only follow you, but I know you post a lot about your father and rare pictures?
On Facebook, it's Jonard Solie. I'll be more than happy to friend you, but I try to keep it as little political as possible. I just want more good stuff on there. But in the book, you're going to find a lot of stuff, so I'm not going to give it all away. You'll just have to wait and see it.
Well, I'll keep everyone watching this posted on the book.
Well, the nice thing in the book, I'm giving 25% of it to the CAC. If it wasn't for my dad, I wouldn't be here to be able to promote it.
Oh, one last person speaking about, I know the CAC helps people with disabilities, and there's one guy that has a lot of disabilities right now, superstar Billy Graham, that unfortunately he's got a GoFundMe going for anyone that wants to look that up. Do you have any memories of your dad commentating his matches in Florida?
Yeah, Billy was an unusual character. He's a totally different person outside the ring than he is in the ring. My dad always enjoyed working with Billy. I got to tell you, the fans here are just awesome. They have such a love for their wrestlers, and the wrestlers just treat the fans with such respect. And, it's like my dad, one time I asked him, I said, do you have a problem signing no autographs? He says, no. So they pay my salary. He said, anytime a fan wants to ask me a question, I'm more than happy to answer it. And that's why my dad said, always be humble. No matter what you do, be humble.
Excellent. Well, thanks a lot, and I hope to see you again soon.
Thank you for watching the Hannibal TV. Please like this video if you enjoyed it, and click the subscribe button to not miss any of our latest shoot interviews, match videos, or news updates. Support us on patreon.com for $1.99 a month to watch our full shoot interviews ad-free and help our channel grow. Follow us on Twitter at the Hannibal TV for instant updates.